I stumbled upon Nightfell Pathfinder 2e edition and then got in touch with them and then stumbled on the 5e version, so obviously I'm going to favour the 5e version. Mama Project Studios. Nightfell is a horror fantasy setting, grimdark, for 5th edition, by Angelo Peluso, Italian author and illustrator, who was an artist on Pathfinder 2, Starfinder, Numenera, etc. So he's a talented guy. I'm going to be looking on the PDF Quickstart. Lovely art, like it. Seems to be so many grimdark kind of projects on the go at the moment. So it's dark D&D. I mean, I'm not having a stab at some of these words. Ironman, that's how I would say it at the table. The world is influenced by 3 sources of arcane power. The sempiternal, or sidereal plane. This is a dwelling for supernal beings. Not a clue what a supernal being is. What's a supernal being? Belonging to the heaven of divine beings. Right, divine. The earthly world, mortals. The dark mirror, the spectral reality harbours nothing but darkness and death. Underworld. Okay, Shadowfell. So a day called the Last Sun happened, and then the first day of the lunar age. Darkness takes over the land. Arcane balance has nearly vanished and supernatural powers take hold. The lunar days are much gloomier than nights. Okay, Strahd. Ravenloft. Eternal winter as well, we must know. Frost and havoc left almost nothing in their wake, and survivors are holed up in a few defendable outposts. It's a horrible place to live, really cold, nasty. There are 2 places that are definitely safe against this darkness and threat. It talks about cults, religions, heretics, covens, cults again. New character features. The first men, they were humans, and now are permanently branded by darkness. Moonsaters. This just seems to start in the middle of a sentence, unless that's meant to be a capital. Lightfair, Livars, fled from the underground. Overseas people, a double S on the word since. Alperns, Primevol, Greyfolk, Heroes of the Night, new subclasses, cultists, Master of Tradition, soldiers devout to the goddess, skilled in lunar divination and in chasing night creatures away. Master of Tradition, these scholars of arcane have a deep knowledge of supernatural creatures. Tefillin, crave a deep bond to the dark world. New archetypes, Barbarian Unholy Path, Bard College of Hex, Creation Domain, Circle of Death, Warren of the Dead, a Night Agent, School of the Moon Tradition, Path of Truth, Oath of Raidra, Benandante Ranger, Legacy of the Underworld, some new patrons, and a cool Vecna looking dude. Okay, here we get to soul points. Each character has a supply of 5 soul points, plus their wisdom modifier. They gain 1 point for every spell slot they have. Every time you deal with the threats of Nightfell, you lose a soul point, or points. If you reach 0, you become possessed by the threat. Every time you cast a numbered spell, you lose a soul point, unless it's a holy spell. Every time a creature faces a creature from Enferran for the first time, they lose a soul point. You can sacrifice soul points, and you can trade soul points in a few ways. Now, regaining soul points. Meditation, committing to small things and earthly matters, forgetting about the looming darkness. On a long rest, you gain 8 plus half the level, plus twice the highest modifier between intelligence, wisdom and charisma soul points. That sounds like maths to me. If you do get possessed, there's a part about role-playing as a possessed person. There are rituals to stave evil off. When you're possessed, you are bound with a rope and encircled in salt. You basically get exorcised. The ritual needs 3 participants. That sounds full, doing some sort of exorcism. So you're fighting for your souls, basically. Then we have grim weapons. Weapons that will slowly soak up the darkness around you. And your weapons change if they get imbued with the darkness. There's a picture here of 3 swords as they sort of getting corrupted, which is, I like it, I like that. The weapon delivering the fatal blow to a creature absorbs the vile essence of the realm at every turn. It gains 1 grim point. A grim weapon has advantage when attacking aberrations, fiends, undead. The character gains advantage in intimidation checks when she touches the grim weapon, but it does have a threshold for how grim it can go. And then you can cleanse a weapon, so your weapon's changing all the time. I like that, that sounds interesting. There's a soul affliction table here, like grievous delusion. The character faces lifelike occult delusions coming straight from the Inferno whenever she turns. Ink black tears float on her face, and she gains disadvantage on any ability check. Cool art. Moon goddess. Lunar divination, all about the circles of the moon. Schools of the moon, cantrips, moonlight seduction, eclipse globe, level 1, that's like necromancy, horror. Moonlight unveils the inner horror of the caster to whoever can see her. Creatures that are not subjected to the frightened state cannot be affected by this spell. The caster gains advantage in charisma intimidation checks for the duration. The caster can end the spell at any moment, have it roll a wisdom save, or become frightened for a minute. That's cool. So in this free Quickstart PDF, which I'm looking at now, goes through other spells. And then there's a short adventure module included, a map of the game area in foreign speech. So this little demo looks like almost like a choose your own adventure path where you go to page, you know. So you just get a vibe, really. Gives you an overall understanding of the setting. Appendix. Staff of the Hermit. Quarterstaff +1. Use a bonus action to awaken the aura of the saint, the previous owner, and then the quarterstaff will do 1d4 extra radiant damage. Krampus. If you ever want some Krampus stats, this is where to find them for free. Krampus has very, very few hit points for my liking. You can pull Krampus's mask off. In the Krampus stat block, there's a stat about pulling the Krampus's mask off. That's strange. And then I do like the layout of the character sheet. Yeah, looks kind of nice. Usual spell sheet. Yeah, if you fancy it, it's free. Search Nightfell 5e as I did online. There's also this Lunar Predator, and this is a stat block for this one monster, I believe, which is really cool eye in mouth looking thing. A huge monstrosity, AC 18, 50 foot speed, Jesus Christ. What is those full hit points? 18 times 12 plus 72. 288 health. It's vulnerable, I like vulnerabilities, to bludgeoning, piercing and slashing, so it's double damage during the new moon to fairly standard attacks with magical weapons. It is resistant to weapons that aren't magical. Can't be poisoned, can't be frightened, but that's only during a full moon. The Lunar Predator receives strength and confidence from the moon. Yeah, cannot be frightened. Keen smell. Spellcasting, charisma, DC 15 +7 to attacks. Legendary resistances. If it moves 20 feet straight forward, it can claw at the same time. The Lunar Predator has always the scary rests of a couple of its previous I do not understand what that says. Multi-attack. 2 claw attacks and 1 bite attack. +9s. 20 average and 17 average. Let's look at this legendary action, Lunar Beam. It receives magical energies from the moon and can give you 6d10 radiant damage and blind you. Interesting. I get the sense that it needs some tweaks. Certainly English grammar tweaks, but hey, you know, that's alright. It's a good system, and I'm on the side of people who create stuff for us to play, so with a little feedback, this could be really interesting. It reminds me of Bloodborne a little bit, or some Souls-like horror. And look, there's an audience for that, so great. If grimdark is on the way up, then you are one of the teams making content, and that's a good thing. So, you know, Nightfell, let's see how it does. Search for it online. I'll certainly be up for looking deeper into more content, so yeah, go check it out.